All right, guys, we're going to get started shortly. I'm just waiting on the live stream to activate. We're going to be live on Facebook and on YouTube. Downsizing Indy is a Facebook page, and Indy Real Estate Experts is the YouTube page. If you want to share, put the links in the chat box. I don't think I have anybody on the phone, but if you did call in, and during the event, if you have a question, you can push *6 on your phone. We'll talk about that. Just checking for last minute guests. Okay. There's one last minute guest. If you're just coming in here, I'm muting you. Oh, there's a phone. I'm muting you just so we don't have a lot of background noise. So one more person we're letting just get on here. If you are on your phone, *6 again, if you have a question during the event. And we're going to go ahead and get started because our live stream is happening. Okay, well, welcome. If you don't know where you are, this is the Indy Senior Living Series. We're in year 5, as many of you know, because we have lots of people who attend each month, which we love. We could not put this event on if it weren't for our sponsors, so we're going to let them introduce themselves, the ones that are here. You can see them on your screen right now. Julie has the PowerPoint up. I think we've got several of them here, so we're going to go ahead and get started so they can introduce themselves. We will start with, I'm just going to go with the PowerPoint that we see here. Dave, Assisted Living Locators, and you are muted, so be sure to unmute yourselves. Go ahead, Dave.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Lisa. Thanks. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dave Holder. I'm the owner of Assisted Living Locators on the north side of Indy. We help families and seniors navigate all their senior living options. If I can be a resource for you, please reach out. My service is no cost, and I'd love to help. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks. And yes, we are live again on Facebook and YouTube, and we're recording this so that we can post it on our website for later viewers. And we actually get hundreds of views after the event. So just letting you all know that if you do have cameras on, I just want you to be cognizant of that. And you are welcome to turn your camera off too, if you'd like. And for those of you who are watching on the live stream, ask your questions in the comments below, and we'll get those answered for you and also share. Next, I know that Jeff Stinson is here with Stinson Law Firm. Take it away.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Stinson with the Stinson Law Firm. I am an elder and special needs law firm in the northern area of Indianapolis. I help folks primarily who are in need of long-term care, whether that is an urgent need. I help plan to protect assets and access quality public benefits to help pay for quality care, as well as doing estate planning for folks who are planning for future need for long-term care. Also help individuals who have special needs children and plan for the day that they're unable to care for, be primary caregiver, advocate, and so on, as well as help disabled individuals who have come across a windfall, protect those assets, and allow them to continue to get the assistance they need through public benefits. Good morning.
Thanks, Jeff. I know Laura Roman is here also with Westminster Village North. They've also been a longtime sponsor. Take it away. And remember, you're muted, so unmute yourself.
I just unmuted myself, so thank you. Hi, I'm Laura Roman. I am the Director of Marketing at Westminster Village North, and I'm always so excited about this series. It's my very favorite one. Westminster is a continuing care retirement community. We are located on the northeast side of Indianapolis. As a continuing care retirement community, we have independent living houses and apartments. We have assisted living apartments, and we have skilled nursing where we have long-term care or short-term rehabilitation. And then we also offer memory care. So we like to think that we could be your home for the rest of your life.
That's awesome. Thank you, Laura. I don't know that we have anybody from Seniors Guide or One Midwest. If I missed you, just speak up, unmute yourself and speak up. I do know that Stacy Bonas with Clear Captions has joined us today. She's had a really busy year and hasn't been able to join us for a while. So Stacy, I'm glad you're here. Take it away.
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, it's good to be here. It's really cold outside, so there's no walking around outside right now. But I'm with Clear Captions, and what we do is we give away caption telephones to people who have hearing loss for free under a federal program. So if you or somebody you know has difficulties hearing on the telephone, please have them reach out to me and we'll get them their free caption telephone. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you, Stacy. And each month, you know, we give away a door prize and we'll put the registration link up toward the end. But Stacy is so generous. She makes these baskets and delivers them to one lucky winner. So be sure that when we post that link, you register. And if you are calling in on the phone, because I know we have a couple, we will be sure to get you registered as well, because we can see your numbers here. We'll process that with our registrations and database. So I know Sarah's here with Bright Star Care.
Hi, good morning. I am Sarah McCord with Bright Star Care. We do in-home care wherever that home may be. So if it's your private home, if it's an independent living, assisted living, we come in and help support you and help you continue to live at that level. We can help with daily tasks like personal care, but as well as things like meal prep or running errands and some light housekeeping, that type of thing. So, and we service all of Marion County and the surrounding counties. So, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Sarah. I think I saw Missy with Marquette, so welcome. You're muted, remember. I'm trying to find you on here.
Yes, hello, Lisa. Hello, everyone. Good to see everybody. Yes, I'm Missy Hancock. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing at Marquette. And like Laura, we are a CCRC, which means that we are a continuum of care community. So we have everything to meet your needs, from independent living to assisted living, memory care, our health center, and our skilled nursing care. So we like to be known as the premier CCRC in Indianapolis. We've got 40 years of history, and really we're the place that people come to enjoy their retirement and not have to ever worry about not being cared for the rest of their life. We give our guarantee that once you move in, you will be taken care of the rest of your life. So that takes an emotional burden off of your family and from you.
Okay, that's awesome. I'm muted. So each month, since we are on Zoom and we can't have these wonderful sponsors in person to visit and talk to them, we highlight a sponsor. So this month we've got Miranda Richard, and she's just going to go into a little bit more depth of an introduction, and you can see her logo and contact information up on your screen now too. So take it away, Miranda. Remember, you're muted, so go ahead and unmute yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. My name is Miranda Richard, and I am a solo attorney. I focus on estate planning and elder law. I have been doing that work for about 7 years now. Before that, I was a deputy prosecutor in Hendricks County for about 5.5 years. And I've been with another firm most of the time that I have been doing the estate planning and elder law. And I just started my own firm in September of last year. So at the prior firm, I managed our Medicaid department. And now I handle estate planning and elder law with my new firm. So with estate planning, that can be advanced directives, so power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, a living will. I can also handle wills and trusts. Those may be revocable trusts. It may be irrevocable trusts. Sometimes trusts are put in place to avoid probate. Sometimes they are put in place for some tax advantage situations. Irrevocable trusts are created for various reasons, but the most common reason is for asset preservation strategies ahead of long-term care. And so I can help with that. And much of what I do is what we call crisis planning for Medicaid cases. So if someone needs nursing home care or they need extensive long in-home care, then Medicaid can help to pay for that long-term care. And I can assist people with applying for those benefits and also assist them with some asset preservation strategies in some cases, many cases ahead of that. My philosophy is to go to clients' homes to help them with that process. So there is a lot of documentation that we need for Medicaid cases, for instance. I will go to them and sit with them at the table and go through the documents. It makes it much easier for clients and for those that may be caring for them. So again, my name is Miranda Richard, and I'm happy to be here today. I'm happy to hear from our speakers as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we could not do this again without the sponsors. We do a lot of marketing online. We do a lot of print advertising because we know that most of our attendees hear about our event from the Indy Star and other print advertising. So that is obviously not free, and we appreciate the sponsors so that we're able to get the information out to you, the attendees, and you can share it with your friends and family and loved ones. Nancy says in the chat box, it's difficult to hear. So we'll be sure to speak up and hopefully it gets better. Nancy, just give me a thumbs up or something over in the chat box. If you're on your phone, you can hit *6 to ask questions. I do have everybody muted, so if somebody hits *6, I'm going to be watching over on the side for people to sort of raise their hands. Let's see. Okay, so yes, when you came in, your mics and cameras were off, and we talked about that. We talked about *6. I'm just going through our housekeeping things here to make sure I don't miss anything. Yes, we will provide a link in a bit to register for our upcoming events and also the feedback form, which will enter you into the drawing. We mentioned the basket that Stacy does, and we also have a $25 Visa gift card. I actually just sent out last month's winner a gift card this week, so I don't think she's on here. If you are on here, it's coming to you if you haven't gotten it yet. Yes, sponsors, put your information in the chat box to your right if you're looking at your screen so that our attendees can grab that information, and the people on the live stream can also see it. What else? I talked about the prizes for feedback, and let's just go ahead and get started. I'm going to introduce our speakers, just the information that you see here, and I'm also going to give them an opportunity to go ahead and introduce themselves as well. I'm obviously Lisa Treadwell, the host of the event. I'm a realtor with Indy Real Estate Experts, and I also own Downsizing Indy. We specialize in helping seniors downsize from start to finish, including obviously selling their house, sorting, packing, moving, unpacking, and liquidating all those things that you don't take with you, which a lot of people get stuck on, and we're helping a lot of people right now. So I appreciate everybody being here. I miss seeing everyone in person. I just got an email this week, if you're wondering, that St. Luke's is still not allowing outside events through July. So hang tight, hang in there for those of you who want to come back to the in-person events. And I think even when we do open it up to in-person, we're going to have the Zoom option as well, just to try and honor everyone's levels of, concern and caution for what's going on. Okay, so I know Torek is here. Torek, I'm going to just go ahead and let you introduce yourself. You know more about yourself than I do, so take it away.
Thanks, Lisa. Good morning. My name is Tarek Brown. I am the president and CEO of CICOA Aging and In-Home Solutions. And for those of you that aren't familiar with our organization, our mission at CICOA Aging and In-Home Solutions is to empower older adults, those of any age with a disability, and their caregivers by providing the innovative answers, services, and supports they need to achieve the greatest possible independence, dignity, and quality of life. In its simplest forms, what we do at CICOA Aging and In-Home Solutions is we make the dream of the older adult aging in their own home a reality. And we do that through many different interventions, service delivery, and provisioning, and all the above. So it's a pleasure to be back with you again, Lisa, for this panel discussion. It's very important, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, thank you, Torek. And it's a pleasure to have you on. I know that CICOA is a major resource in Central Indiana for seniors and their loved ones. So thank you for being here. And then Barb Miller, I know, is here. I saw her earlier. Take it away, Barb. You're muted, so remember to unmute yourself. I'm trying to find you.
There we go. Is that better? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for letting me be here today. I'm Barb Miller, as she said. I'm with the Indiana Senior Medicare Patrol, or we'll call it SMP because we love our acronyms. And you'll notice I mentioned Indiana SMP because there is a Senior Medicare Patrol program in every state and territory of the United States. So if you happen to be a snowbird and live in Florida and have a Medicare problem, you can find your local Senior Medicare Patrol office there. We're funded by the Administration for Community Living on a grant, and those grants usually are like every 2 or 3 years. So our mission is to educate seniors and those who care for them about Medicare fraud and the things that they can do to help stop it. And if you're saying, why do I care? Well, Medicare fraud in 2018 cost us as taxpayers about $60 billion. That's with a B. And to put that in context, the budget for NASA in that year was $19 billion. The budget for the poor little EPA was $3 billion. So we're talking about real money here. And the reason we care is if we don't protect the integrity of the Medicare program, then it'll result in loss of benefits, higher costs, or perhaps the elimination of the program. So it's very important to do everything we can to help stop Medicare fraud, and that's what we do through programs like this. When there's in-person events, you'll see an SMP person at a booth or at a table or doing a presentation. So that's kind of us in a nutshell.
Thank you, Barb. And then last but certainly not least, we have Chad here with the Government Postal Agency. So take it away, Chad.
Hey, good morning, Lisa, and everyone else. Thank you for having me. My name is Chad Liersch. I'm a postal inspector here in Indianapolis with the United States Postal Inspection Service. United States Postal Inspection Service is the law enforcement agency for the Postal Service. We support and protect the Postal Service by enforcing the laws that defend the mail system from illegal or dangerous use. In a nutshell, what we do is we investigate any crime with a nexus to the mail. These crimes can include investigations of dangerous or prohibited mails, narcotics, the robberies or burglaries of postal facilities, assaults or threats to our postal employees, mail theft, identity theft, mail fraud, and many more crimes where there's a nexus to the mail. Because of that, We obviously have some involvement investigating scams that target the elderly and target other populations. So that's what we're here to talk about this morning. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, great. I appreciate you being here as well. I think the last time we did this, we had a couple of other people, FBI agents, and I think when you say that, people get like, ooh, we have we have special agents here on the panel. So we've got a great panel, and they're full of knowledge, and we want to help the attendees avoid fraud. And so we'll dive in. That was actually the first question. Just introduce yourselves and your work as it relates to helping people get through fraud or avoid it altogether. So let's move on to the next question. And we could just go down the list just like we have. So we'll go to Tarek, Barb, and then Chad. And so the next question is, what are the most popular scams you're seeing specifically since the pandemic? Again, if you are viewing on the live stream, you can type your questions in the chat on Facebook or YouTube. If you're on your phone, *6 to raise your hand. If you're on the Zoom, you can put it in the chat box, type your question or raise your hand. And we'll go to Tarek then to answer that question. What are the most popular scams you're seeing specifically since the pandemic?
Thanks for the question, Lisa. I think the first one is that we know scam artists are out there trying to obtain seniors' Medicare numbers and other personal information. We know that there are phone calls being done offering coronavirus test kits or masks and asks the individual to verify their Medicare number or Social Security number. We know that there are folks reaching out to people to offer them unsolicited health services, such as free medical equipment or free services, other free services. We know that there are stimulus check scammers out there that are reaching out to try and grab a hold of bank account information in an attempt to steal our older adults' stimulus checks that they may have received. We know that there's some scammers who are posing as someone from the Social Security Administration or the IRS, telling seniors that their benefits are going to be suspended unless they provide personal information or some kind of payment. And then lastly, we know that there are charity scammers out there who are preying on the generosity of our older adults by asking them to give money for fake COVID relief charities. And so we just want to make sure folks are verifying the viability and legitimacy of any charitable organizations that are reaching out to them. So thank you for allowing me to respond, Lisa.
Wow, that is crazy. I knew that scams have picked up. I mean, I've been approached myself more frequently than typical, but I had no idea some of those that you mentioned. All right, let's go to, I'm sorry, Barb, there you are.
I'm going to say what he said, but no, particularly one of the things I've noticed is that the scammers love the pandemic because people are at home and they're on their social media more. And, so they're more likely to be a victim because of those two things. Some of the things that we've seen related to COVID-19 is people saying they're a contact tracer and they're calling to let you know that you've been in touch or in proximity to someone with COVID. And, oh, by the way, we need your Social Security number or your Medicare number. It's all about the numbers. That's the commodity of this century is we want that information because we're going to do, as I say, naughty things with it. Again, they're selling cures, now that the vaccine is available, that's kind of slowed down because people can get a vaccine, based on their age, and they can go to the website of the state government and find out information about how and when they can get their vaccination. And that, of course, is www.rshot.indiana.in.gov. Tarek mentioned the medical equipment. You know, we thought we were past the back brace scam or the arm brace or the knee brace. But again, those are still going on hot and heavy. You get a call that says, oh, we've noticed you have back pain. Well, when you call a senior, the likelihood that you're going to catch somebody that has back pain is probably 99.9%. And what they say is you can get a brace for free. If you bite on that, what you get is a brace that is something similar to what you could buy, you know, at the drugstore, but they bill Medicare thousands of dollars for that. So that's one of the reasons we want to stop that. Another one that we saw, and I've seen this on social media, just before they started closing down live events, there were people showing up at senior fairs or residences saying, we can offer you free genetic testing and to find out if you have a likelihood of getting cancer or something. And they would get a cheek swab. And now if you're doing it through social media, they send you a kit to send in your cheek swab so they can do your genetic testing. Many times you don't even get a report. If you do get a report, it's something that you can't interpret or maybe your doctor can't. So our warning about all of those is, if you think you need a genetic test or if you think you need some kind of a brace, talk to your primary care physician and get one that's ordered. Because if you get a back brace and they bill Medicare for it, and then you decide later you need one that's fitted to you and prescribed by your physician, Medicare may not pay for it because they're going to show that you've already received that. So those are some of the things. Of course, all the other scams are still rampant. And what we just say to everybody is, don't give your Medicare number or any Social Security or financial numbers out to somebody that, you know, that doesn't have a need for it, like a medical provider. So those are some of the big ones we're seeing.
Barb, that site that you mentioned, was it www.ourshot.in.gov?
Yes.
Wanted to.
The other thing you can do if you're wanting to find out to get a vaccination is to go to 211. But I'm hearing, at least initially, there were long waits on the 211 number. So it's really pretty simple. When you go to the government website, and it'll ask you for your zip code, and then it'll show you what sites are available and you can register. What I didn't realize when I registered, and I'm past my second shot as of this week, you don't have to go to a facility in your county. If, for example, if your county's got a long wait, you could go to another county to sign up. So that was a well-kept secret when I was looking to sign up. So.
Oh, great. Thank you, Barb. And there was someone on the chat, Michael Mackey, it looks like, that posted some information. I just want to be clear that this event is not a commercial to our guests. We actually promised them that we're not going to solicit their information and make hard advertisements to them. So I'd appreciate it if you just didn't post that information in the chat box. We actually have paid sponsors, and they do put their information over because they're paid sponsors. So I'd appreciate it if you would refrain from that if you were on here and making those advertisements on the chat. And then just a quick reminder before we get to Chad, if you're on the phone and you have a question, push *6. If you are on the live chat or on the live stream on Facebook or YouTube, you can type in your questions and I'll be happy to ask them here to our panelists. And then let's go. Chad, I lost him for a second, but I think you're back, right? Chad, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
All right, sorry about that. Our internet decided to go down here during this meeting. So I think I did get a chance to listen to what the other speakers presented on this topic. So if I repeat what they say, I apologize.
Sure.
So since the pandemic has started, we've sort of seen a wide variety of COVID-19 related fraud schemes. These include, the COVID-19 vaccine scam, PPE supply scams, CARES Act, or payroll protection program scams, and even contact tracing scams, just to name a few. However, some of the most popular schemes we've seen over the last several years have continued even through the pandemic, and sometimes they're also the underlying characteristics of the schemes that involve some of the COVID-19 stuff. So I want to touch on those two scams real quick, which are romance scams and work at home offers. Romance scams, by definition, sort of occur when a criminal adopts a fake online identity to gain a victim's affection or trust. The scammer uses the illusion of a romantic or close relationship to try to manipulate and steal from the victim. These scammers, quite frankly, are just they're experts at what they do, and they seem genuine, caring, and believable. They are present almost on every dating and social media website these days, and their intention is to establish a relationship as quickly as possible, endear themselves to the victim, and gain their trust. Scammers may even propose marriage or make plans to meet in person, but that usually never happens or will never happen. Eventually, they ask for money, and the scam artists also usually provide some kind of story, like they're in the construction or military and they're out of the country, which makes avoiding meeting in person easier and more plausible when they ask for money for an emergency of some sort. And then the other thing we've really seen in the last couple of years take off are the work-at-home scams and reshipping scams. Con artists know that the idea of working from home is attractive to many people. Some of these work-from-home scams require you to invest your own money before you learn how the plan works and before you are sent instructions. The work you are often asked to do even continues a fraud scheme, but you're now an unknown participant in that scheme. Other work-from-home schemes include jobs posted on legitimate career websites, asking job seekers to receive packages and then mail them to another address, sometimes a foreign address. Those packages often contain merchandise that are bought with stolen credit card information. And then ultimately, the paycheck you receive from these scams most likely would be counterfeit as well.
I just realized this is on.
So while all these schemes were prevalent to the pandemic, they've become more appealing during the pandemic. Social isolation increases the potential of being victimized by a romance scam, while financial hardship or employment hardship caused by the pandemic could increase the probability of being victimized by a work-at-home scheme.
That's great. And I suppose a natural follow-up question that's not on your list of questions, panelists, is you've listed like so many things that are part of our daily lives, just things that are pretty natural. I mean, if you hurt your leg, you are going to need a leg brace. If you are looking to see if you are genetically predisposed to having, negative side effects to COVID, so that's naturally something that you're going to gravitate to. And these calls or emails or the things that we get in the mail seem legit. So what do we do if we're just caught in the middle of this? I know something like this happened to me. It had to do with my utilities. And they had me for a second. I mean, nothing happened. They didn't get anything, but I would consider myself a pretty sharp person. And the people on that who are guests here on this event, they're all very sharp people. What do we do if we're in the middle of this and we think, okay, this can't be right?
You want me to? Okay. One thing I say is if it's a call that came to you rather than a call that you initiated, be kind of leery of that. If it's something you spotted on social media, check it out. You can, a lot of times I'll tell people to call your local law enforcement, check with the Better Business Bureau, check with the Indiana Attorney General. They have a website that has a lot of good information there. But what I always say to seniors, and they all remember this, is if it sounds too good to be true, and you can finish that sentence, it probably is. So red flags are things like if it's not something you initiated, if it's going to involve money or free, or you have to give your financial or personal information of some sort, or if you must act immediately, or it's going to go to someone else, or this offer will expire, then those are red flags, and that's a sign that you need to stop and think, talk to somebody else.
So what if, okay, what if we've answered the phone and we are going along with it, and we're right in the middle of it, and it occurs to us that this may be a scammer. What should we do, like, in that moment? Tarek or Chad?
Yeah, thanks for that, Lisa. And Barb gave a great answer to that. I would say, as you're on that call and you're hearing what appears to be, it's too good to be true, the advice that I would give to that senior is to immediately hang up the phone. I know many of our older adults might feel that that's rude, but I think the best thing to do would be to just terminate that call. And then it's that next step of you got to let someone know, whether it be a family member, whether it be, to some of the resources that Barb mentioned, but you've got to let someone know so that they can help protect you. So it's let your family know, it's contact, local law enforcement. If it's of Medicare, right, people are calling going, you can change your spot in line for the vaccine if you give us ABC. That's not true, right? So as it relates to the vaccine, there is a process here in Indiana that is laid out on ourshot.in.gov, and so when you hear those kinds of things, it's just to immediately hang up that call. And then you might want to, again, in addition to telling family, you might want to reach out to Senior Medical or Senior Medicare Patrol to report that, or perhaps our organization's ADRC, our Aging and Disability Resource Center, to report it as well. And so then that would create us to reach out to local law enforcement, to APS as a mandatory reporting agency, to make sure that others knew this was happening.
Right.
Chad, did you have anything that you wanted to add to that?
So Barb and Tarek both gave, excellent answers. And the one thing that you initially said, Lisa, that stood out to me was you made the comment that, you had sort of got scammed, or at least they got your attention and you consider yourself a sharp person. And many of the times when we go and we talk to victims of scams, they're always sort of embarrassed because there's a stigma that if you fall for a scam, maybe you're questioning your intelligence or, your awareness. And that's not the case at all. These scammers are excellent in manipulation. They practice and train, and they have scripts, and what doesn't work, and they change to what does work, and they're excellent at what they do. And oftentimes that stigma of, possibly getting caught up in a scam or being afraid to talk to loved ones or your support system about it is something that we really need to overcome. And that can help eliminate some of these issues that we're seeing. But we've really got to decrease that stigma associated with being victimized by a scam by these experts. And that's what they are. They're experts at scamming people.
Yeah, that's a really great point, Chad. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, they had me for a second until they said, go to the Speedway gas station and send me your utility payment. And I'm like, I'm looking at my utility account right now and I'm on auto pay. That doesn't make sense, and then they hung up. But so one of you mentioned, I don't remember which one, or well, a couple of you have mentioned some websites to visit to verify different things. And I know that we have a couple of people on calling in on the phone and they don't have access to the web. And then Barb, thank you for posting in the chat. Barb, posted, if it's related to Medicare, call Senior Medicare Patrol. There's a 1-800 number there. So if you're calling in on the phone and you need resources that do not involve getting on the internet, feel free to reach out to me, and I can direct you to one of our panelists, Tarek, Barb, or Chad, or even one of our sponsors via phone call. I always try to be sensitive to this audience, and not everyone has internet access, not everyone has a computer, and some people just are not that good at it, and it's frustrating. And the last thing that we want you to be, especially when you're found yourself in the middle of a scam, is also frustrated because of technology. So just reach out. You can call me directly. I think most of you have my phone number, but it's 317-246-9966. And then we're going to get to red flags, but we do have we have a few questions in the chat box I want to address. I think Chad is back with us. We keep losing him. Okay, so there's some people who have posted about some scams that they've seen. And then one person says, how many unanswered phone calls does it take before a scammer stops calling? Nancy or somebody answered, if you keep getting calls from the same number, you can block those numbers. So that's one thing. I don't know how many calls it takes. I know that sometimes they do call from different numbers, and they even call from numbers that look like your own number. We talked about that on this panel. On a different, event, but they'll call from just numbers that are related to your number or your family members' numbers. So your instinct is just to pick up the phone right away. Somebody says, could you clarify the 211 option? Can use a landline or cell phone as simple as dialing the 3 numbers, which can easily be confusing. Also, 211 has options for other services. Does anyone want to address that? 211.
Yes, 211 does have options. I don't know, Torque may be in a better position to address that than I am.
So I can't speak to the specific things that they're doing at 211 as it relates to vaccine registrations and things like that. I just know that they are very much involved in that project to assist the state in getting folks registered for vaccination and things of that nature. 211 does serve also as that catalyst to linking folks who are calling in for perhaps some of those things that may not be handled by a specific organization. And so people will call to gain resources and linkages to community business organizations that can help them with that specific thing that they are dealing with, whether it be mental health services, substance abuse and addiction. It could be that they're looking for older adult services and just not sure which organization to contact. So 211 would provide them that information so that they could then reach out to the organization best set to serve their need.
Sorry. I know, I hate that when I do that. Okay, one person says, I have never gotten anything but a busy signal in calling 211. I have called at all hours, very early and very late in the day. I think there's also an option to call the non-emergency line for the police department as well.
Lisa, a lot of the senior centers in the counties are assisting people. I know here in Johnson County, where I live, our local library has offered to help people enroll for the vaccine, get registered for the vaccine. I know when I first started trying, I was on hold for 45 minutes on 211. That was early on in the process. So if you don't have access to a computer, then you might reach out to your local senior center or your local library, because they have stepped up to help people in that situation.
Okay, good. Thank you. I saw somebody raise their hand and now it's down. I think it was Linda. Are you there, Linda? Did you still have a question, or if it was somebody else? I'm sorry, it went away.
Hey, Lisa.
Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to add one point to Barb's last statement, which is the 15 area agencies on aging are also part of the registration project that the state has going on to help get older Hoosiers registered for the vaccination. So you can either contact 211, as Barb said, you can contact your local senior centers who are involved in it, or you can reach out to one of the 15 area agencies on aging, of which CICOA is one of them, to help with that registration for the vaccination.
Okay, great. And thank you, Miranda. Carol, Dennis, do you have a question?
I had a suggestion.
Yeah.
You mentioned utility scams, and I have received calls, 2 of them so far this year, one just about a week ago, saying that my power was about to be cut off. And rather than calling the number, which I wrote down, that they had called from and told me to call that number and gave me a case number also, instead I called the utility directly, and they said that's a scam. You're done. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Ignore it.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing. I was sitting by my computer when they called, so I was able to just look at my account and see obviously that I, had paid and then I called and they said, yeah, that's a popular scam. So that's always you too. I think that rule of thumb, Barb, that you gave, when someone's reaching out to you directly, if it sounds too good to be true, if you have to act now, you don't have time, they're not giving you time to think about it. Those are all good red flags. That transitions into our next question. And Tarek and Chad, if you want to answer, or Barb, if you want to add anything else, what are some other red flags that we can look for?
Yeah, I mean, I think Barb really set the tone nicely by saying if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is too good to be true. Lisa, you might recall the last panel discussion we did. That was one of the points I articulated over and over again, and it's still true today, right? So that's one thing. The other thing that I think about is, my career, a lot of it has been in sales. And so trying to understand that sense of urgency, those closing techniques and things of that nature. If you've spent time in your life in, sales or organizations like that, then you might be able to still hear some of that stuff as these scammers are reaching out to you. So I would just say, just make sure you've got those attentive ears turned up, that you're listening intently to what they are saying. And as you begin to hear things like, it's got to be right now, or you must do this within the next hour, that should be the cardinal rule to know this is probably not a legitimate transaction, and just end that phone call. I think the other thing that is it's not necessarily red flag, but it is this thought that we all, when we deal with these kinds of things, tend to be very embarrassed to share that experience with others. And to be very honest, we must be in a position to not be afraid or fearful to tell others, our family, our networks, that this is happening. I think that helps kind of stop folks, or at least it's not going to get rid of it altogether, but at least it will make more people aware that it's happening. And so as these scammers are trying to make their attempts to contact folks, they may have a little more insight into what's going on and terminate that call sooner rather than the person who they had spoken with last did. So that would be all that I would add.
All great points. Yeah, from being in sales and customer service, basically my whole working career, you're right about that. And also salespeople can be the worst, the worst targets because we just go for it. I don't know. And that part is part of, why it could be embarrassing, because you think I should have known better. I've been doing this my whole life. I know what they're doing. And getting past that. Another thing that I thought about with our audience, some people, maybe your kids are the people that you go to to talk to a lot, or just to download or whatever. Don't be afraid to tell your children, your adult children, what has happened. Some people think, oh, I don't want them to worry. It's fine. I can take care of myself. But don't keep this in the dark at all. It needs to be, it needs to come to the surface. A couple of comments over in the chat. Somebody mentioned that on Facebook, there are some virtual tours that advertise this free, but then when they sign in, they're asking for a credit card number. That person just simply signed out. Another person, this is a really good point from Georgia. You can be sure that no law enforcement body is going to threaten arrest over the phone unless you send them some payment in the form of gift cards. And so with that, Chad, what do you have to add in terms of red flags?
Yeah, so again, Barb and Tarek covered a lot of the notes I had and a lot of good information. Georgia brings up a good point. One of the big red flags for scammers is that they will seek payment in unusual methods. And going back to your example of the utility company, or maybe the law enforcement scam that Georgia brought up, asking for money in the form of gift cards or cryptocurrencies or cash through the mail is not a traditional business method of accepting payments. And if somebody is asking you to make payments through unusual payment methods such as those, it's most likely a scam. And I don't want to repeat what the two of them said, but if it's too good to be true, it most likely is. And then finally, scammers, and Tarek sort of touched on this a little bit, but they want to isolate their victim. They want their victim to be unable to reach out to bounce this idea off anybody else. They don't want you to share the conversations they're having with you, and they don't want you to tell anybody else about the money involved in this. They feed on isolating their victim, and that's how they're so successful a lot of times.
Oh, very good points. And just again, for the attendees, we do have a list of questions, but if you have a question that you'd like to ask, raise your hand. I'm watching, and the sponsors are watching too. Thank you for your questions. You can also type them in the chat box. If you're on the phone, you can hit *6 on your phone and we'll unmute you so that you can ask your question. And if you're on the live stream, you can just type your questions in there. Okay, so we are moving on to question number 4. If you've been scammed or think someone is trying to scam you or us, who should we contact and what information will they need from us? So we've covered a little bit of this, but a lot of times when you're in the midst of this, you don't think to write down that number. Somebody mentioned they wrote down the number. You don't think to write down the number or any other identifying information. And so what is there anything that you guys can add to that? If we're reporting this, what sort of information is someone going to need?
Yeah, from my perspective, Lisa, I would like, to at least minimally see that phone number that they're receiving the call from, understanding that it might not really be an actual phone number, since spoofing is so popular now, and people are able to kind of grab a number and utilize that as the number that is calling another phone. But it is to really look at that, have that phone number written down, and as they are calling, to try and give as much detail as possible, right? So I received a phone call and it came from this number. Don't know that that's a legitimate number or not, but this is what the person said to me. They're looking for, payment for me to be able to receive my COVID vaccine, something like that, right? The more detail that they can share to whomever they're contacting, right? Whether it be Senior Medicare Patrol, whether it be our Aging and Disability Resource Center, or other resources that are available to them to report such activity. I think that as a minimum, we should at least try and get that phone number and what the substance of the discussion was. What is it that this scammer or this caller was asking from you?
That's good. Carol Dennis is raising her hand, I see. Carol, did you have a question?
Yes. Where do we get a list of the people to report these things to? Yes, I can take down the information. Who do I give it to?
That's a good question.
I guess, excuse me. There is an organization called InCase. It's incase.org. Stands for the Coalition Against Senior Exploitation. And it's made up of representatives of all sorts of agencies. If you reach out to our office, to Nancy Moore at 317-205-9201, if it's not Medicare related, Nancy will get you in touch with the representative from InCase that is most able to help you with your issue. It's sort of a clearinghouse of agencies that are dedicated to stop senior exploitation. So I would start there. If it's Medicare related, of course, call SMP at 317-205-9201. And Nancy will take the information and answer any questions you have, may forward it on for further investigation, and in some cases, prosecution if that's a trend. That's what happened with the genetic tests and has happened with some of the back braces. Those are some of the general numbers. That'd probably be the best answer I can give you, other than the Indiana Attorney General's office or the Better Business Bureau or some other good areas, as well as local law enforcement. Because in some cases, for example, if you've been a victim of identity theft, there's going to have to be a police report filed before you can proceed in reaching out to your various creditors. So I would start, call SMP for Medicare, as well as being referred to an InCase organization.
Lori Powers, are you still there? You said you had a comment. Lori Powers, she said she had to leave. Oh, I have a commitment.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry. Thank you for coming, Lori. And then I was just trying to read that really quickly. One of our sponsors, Miranda, mentioned in the comments, if you're the financial power of attorney for someone, which we work with a lot of adult children and other loved ones who are financial power of attorneys for a senior in their life, look for patterns of transactions in the bank. Some scammers will take small amounts of money out over a long period of time. Some might involve larger amounts of money all at once. And she also mentioned if somebody becomes more secretive about their finances, it may be an indication of a scam occurring, because because of the embarrassment that we talked about. It sounds like that is a theme. People feeling embarrassed about being scammed and just sort of not telling anybody about it. And that's the worst thing that you could do. Again, very sharp people have fallen victims of scams, and it doesn't say anything about your intelligence level. We need to tell people about that so we can get help. And okay, Nancy, we have a bookmark we can send with common scams and the agencies and contact information. That would be great, Nancy, and I'll connect with you so that we can figure out how to get that out to our audience via mail. So, Chad, did you want to have any more comments on if I don't even remember what we're on, question number 5, I think, or 4.
Yeah.
I think we're still on 4, yes.
We need a report.
So I think that just adding what Barb said about your local law enforcement, and of course viewing this from a law enforcement perspective, if you're going to report those things, which you should to your local law enforcement, especially for the documentation Barb mentioned, anything you have, especially any kind of communications you have with the scammer. So if you have emails, text messages, you have voicemails, any of those things will be beneficial to be brought in at the time you're making your initial report. And then viewing it from the perspective that we see sometimes here at the United States Postal Inspection Service, if the scam involves having money or some other monetary instrument, what we talked about earlier, like the gift cards or money orders. If the scam involves sending those through the mail or a commercial shipping commercial shipping agency like UPS or FedEx or DHL, as soon as you think you've been scammed, you need to recall that package as soon as possible. Scammers tend to have their victims use products that ship within 24 to 48 hours. And as soon as that package is delivered, the likeliness of recovering that money or that monetary instrument diminishes greatly. It's almost zero. So again, if you think you've put something in the mail that you might be part of a scam, recall it or have it returned to you as soon as possible.
So you can go to the post office and have things recalled like that.
If you have, so again, most of these products that are being used to ship money or money orders or monetary instruments are express mail or priority mail, which have a tracking number to them. And if it has a tracking number assigned to it, it can be recalled as long as it has not been delivered. So the customer will need to keep that tracking number on the receipt of their purchase.
That's good. That's good to know. I go to and buy the $25 Visa gift cards that we send out as door prizes, and I know that at least at CVS there's a prompt on the screen, the payment screen, now that I've noticed over the last year, that even asks some question about, is somebody asking you to buy this for them, something like that. So I thought that was interesting and good protection. So I'm gonna check for questions. Callis, is that you waving your hand at me? Do you have a question? Go ahead. You're muted. I'm unmuting you. Or it says ask to unmute. So there you go.
I think I can speak for a lot of us when I say these calls are extremely annoying. And even if you let them ring and ring and ring, it's real annoying. Why can't our lawmakers get this kind of stuff stopped?
That's a good point. There is a do not call list that you can sign up for that doesn't eliminate all of them, but it does eliminate some of them. Do any of our panelists have that number off the top of your head that you can throw in the chat box or tell us?
I don't, but I'm sure we can find it real quick before we wrap, Lisa.
Okay, yeah, I'll let you guys work on that.
Lisa,
yes, Barb, go ahead.
I just have one comment about that. Many of those calls that you get are being made by a computer. They can dial 10,000 numbers a minute. And like someone said a while ago, you know, if you block one number, they can roll up to the next digit and just keep dialing. The problem that the lawmakers have with that is that those calls are coming from outside the state or the country, and they don't have any jurisdiction there. So the best thing that, you know, if you've got an answering machine, just ignore that ringing and let it go to the answering machine, because when you answer that call, it tells that computer a couple of things. One, oh, this is a good number because somebody answered. And two, this is a good time to call because somebody answered. And they aggregate those numbers and sell them to the crooks who just then keep using those numbers to call. If you pick up that phone and you recognize that pregnant pause, if you will, that says somebody's calling and it's going to be directed to a live agent, hang up immediately. The other thing I would say is sometimes you'll hear them say, if you want to be removed from our list, press 1. Don't do it. That tells the computer it's a good call, it's a good number, a good time to call, and this person does exactly what we ask them to do. That list is aggregated and sells for more money than just the list of the people that answer.
Yeah, there's a documentary, a few actually, that explain that data has now more valuable than oil. So data that people are tracking, our behavioral patterns, whether we answer the phone, whether we push that one, whether it goes to an answering machine, all of that stuff is being tracked and filed away, and it is now more valuable than oil, according to this documentary. So several websites and telephone numbers have been posted in the chat for the do not call list. And I know that we have some people on the phone. So I'm just going to say those websites real quick. There's one that is www.indonotcall.org. www.indonotcall.org. There's another one that is www.donotcall.gov. I'm assuming one of those is a state registration and one is maybe a national. I don't know.
That first one is federal.
Okay.
The first one that's there that I posted, Lisa, that's from the Federal Trade Commission's website.
Got it. So that's the donotcall.gov.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So that is going to cover you federally. The IN, the one that is IN, is going to be the state. And then there are a couple of numbers. There's an 888-382-1222. There's another one that is 888-834-9969. And yet another one, 800-382-5516. If you're listening on your phone and you didn't get any of this information down, just reach out to me directly and we'll get this information to you. I want to be just cognizant of everyone's different levels of technology here. So we're on to our last question. And of course, if you're out there and you've got a question, wave your hand. You can raise your hand over on the side. You can type your question in the chat. It is what is your best advice? Oh, by the way, I just wanted to address something that you said about the calls being annoying. Yes, they're very annoying. My phone is the primary source for my business. And I get calls all the time, not only scammers, but people who market to realtors or business owners. And I also signed up for these, and it is annoying. And it would be great if some government entity could come up with a way to just make it all stop. But I think that I don't know that is something that's coming anytime soon, right? So it's just something that we need to be aware of and do the best we can to just protect ourselves and our loved ones. Okay, so best advice that our panelists have, Tariq?
So yeah, thanks, Lisa. I mean, we all deal with these types of calls and things like that. So the best advice I would give is, upon answering a phone call, if there's a slight pause, I just hang up. And if I do hang up on someone that I know, they text me and say, "Hey T, you hung up on me." Okay, that's a legitimate call, so I'm gonna make that phone call back to have a conversation with them. It's not rude. It's just one of those protective precautions that I utilize for myself. My cell phone is my primary phone number, and so I get a lot of those calls where it'll come in and I know I don't know the number, but I might answer it. And as soon as I say hello, I don't hear anything, I immediately hang up. So I would say if you experience that, just hang up the phone. Don't think of it as being rude. Think of it as you're protecting yourself and your interest more than anything. I would say never give any type of personal information over the phone for anyone, whether it's Medicare numbers, Social Security numbers, banking information, any personal information that you've got that you need to safeguard. Just know that you don't want to provide that information over a phone call. More importantly, though, also know that those organizations and federal entities that would reach out to you they're not going to ask you for that kind of information. So if the IRS is looking to get in contact with you, it's not like they're going to call and say, I need to provide A, B, C, or D. Typically, they're going to send a notice through the U.S. Postal Service. So it's just all these, it's things that we currently see and deal with, and we're just trying to give as much insight into avoiding it even starting for our older adults. So that would be the advice that I would give. And I'll now be quiet and allow my other two panel members to share some things.
Okay, sorry, I just posted the wrong link in the door for the door prize. My copy and paste did not work properly. There's the link. So if you want to register for the door prize, go over the chat box and just click on that link. If you're on the phone, we'll still get you registered. And I was just going to say, Barb, yeah, that is a sure sign that you are in a call log. One of these, they have services, they sell them to realtors all the time so that we can call, like cold call people for real estate leads. It'll call hundreds of people all at once, and the first person to answer, it'll connect you live with that person. If you get multiple people answering at the same time, you can have a pre-recorded voicemail to leave them. So I know that these services exist. And people are using them. So that's the sure sign. When you pick up the phone and you've got a little bit of a pause, I immediately hang up. And you're right, if it's a family member or somebody that you know, they'll call you right back. Barb, best tips?
I'll say again what Toric said. Plus, it's very hard to tell a senior not to answer the phone because they're lonesome. They want to talk to people. They want to be helpful. That's another way they get snagged. But one of the things that we say is, if you have caller ID and you don't recognize the number, picking up that phone is just like picking up a hitchhiker.
Oh.
We wouldn't do that anymore. Years ago, you could have picked up a hitchhiker. Years ago, you could have answered that phone, but it's a no-no now. So if you have caller ID, even sometimes if you think you recognize the number, I've had several calls from myself. And guess what? I always assume that's probably not real. But if you have an answering machine, sit there and let it go to the answering machine and screen it. I have relatives and friends that say, when they call me, hey, Barb, it's me, so-and-so. If you're there, pick up the phone. And I do, because they know that's my habit. And most of the time, the scammers won't leave a message. And that's probably the best way of getting you taken off the list, because somehow those computers know when it's not a real person that answered the phone, and maybe that'll eventually get you off their list. That's probably the best advice I have, is don't answer or just hang up.
Yeah, they're tracking your data, they're tracking your behavior. So if you answer, that is tracked.
Right.
And sold to other people too. Yeah, that was a good point you made, Barb, about seniors being lonely. I mean, I think more than just seniors are lonely these days with everyone being stuck in their houses. So you get that phone call, and it's a chance to just talk to somebody. You're being preyed on. So the best thing you could do is not answer the phone. That's good. And then last but not least, Chad, best advice?
Lisa, next time you can't put me third in line behind these two knowledgeable people. Because every time I'm checking off my list here, I got nothing left.
Sorry, I didn't mean to give you a complex. I keep last but not least.
So a couple things that to add to what they touched on would be, again, we talked earlier about that stigma associated with being a victim of a scam. Keeping in communication with family members about things that are being presented to you, maybe about your financial situation. People don't like talking about their money with other people. I understand that, but at least you can talk in generalities about those things. If somebody's asking for money for something, if you have somebody who you trust, you could ask if that's a good idea or a bad idea. If it sounds legitimate, And then what Tarek sort of said earlier about government calling you, we, in my job, we sometimes have to call people because we may have something we have to deal with outside of our jurisdiction, right? And if I call you, I will go above and beyond to put you at ease that I am who I say I am. I'll email you from my government email address that finishes in .gov. I'll encourage you to research our agency, find our agency's 1-800 number, and I'll give you my badge number, my phone number. I'll even send certified letters if you're not comfortable with talking on the phone prior to something along those lines. So people that work in this field know that people are skeptical of being communicated, and we'll go above and beyond to put them at ease. And then furthermore, I won't ask for any personal identifying information even once we start communicating. That's just not something I need during our conversations. So I would just keep those in mind when somebody's saying they're from the government, and that's a good way of determining if they're truly from the government or if they're fraud. As a true government rep will go above and beyond to put you at ease.
That is all good stuff. I'm going to do a shout out for more questions. One last time, it's 11:15, so we have time for your questions or thoughts. Don't hold back. This is your opportunity. I see Callis raising your hand. Are you guys in separate rooms? Because isn't your husband on
Yes.
too? Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I just want to give my piece of advice. I've been known to keep a whistle by my telephone and have blown it in numerous ears.
That's funny. Now you sound like my 15-year-old son, because
that's okay.
When we're driving in the car and he knows, he's used to the phone ringing all the time, but and then I hang up, when there's a pause, he wants me to stay on so he can do something crazy like that. That would be something he would love. Yeah, so that's good. Thank you. Any questions? Other fun tips like that? I mean, hey, if we have to be annoyed by scammers, we might as well make it fun, right?
Right.
Anything else? Now, in the chat box again, I put, Torek said the whistle does work. My 80-year-old aunt used the whistle to ensure calls. That's awesome. Hey, that's a great piece of advice.
Thank you.
Again, the link for the door prize is there, and then you can register for our next event, which is coming up in March. I'm looking for the what do we? I don't even remember what the topic is for March. Sorry.
Is it distancing, social distancing?
Yeah, here it is. Yep, social distancing and staying connected. So for those of you that are feeling lonely and you're tempted to pick up the phone on scammers, we'll teach you how to stay connected with people who are not scammers during the pandemic. Oh, and somebody just posted, I'm sorry, I'm looking for, Julie, thank you, resources. United States Postal Inspection Service. She's got all of the links there. Thank you, Julie. Julie was operating our PowerPoint. She's got a whole bunch of links there. Various publications to protect yourself from fraud. Awesome. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Michelle. I keep messaging you directly instead of everyone. There's the link to register for the March event. And I'm going to do one last call for questions, comments. I'm looking. Unmute yourself and just start talking. *6 on your
Hey,
phone.
Lisa, thank you for letting me sit in. I'm going to sit in for as many as I can. This is very...
And you're tell me, Kansas, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I knew that there was something special about you. I couldn't remember, so I'm glad you said that. Yeah, of course, sit in anytime. The good thing about doing these on Zoom is that we can have people from all over. I was actually on someone's panel, another realtor who does these events from Austin, Texas on Monday. So we were talking to people about downtown. So, Nancy Moore says,
this is a valuable resource. Good job.
Awesome. Thank you. ask Barb to talk about blocking apps and screening apps for smartphones and landlines.
Some of your landline providers have a blocking service that'll allow you to block so many numbers. And if, you know, again, that works as long as they stay with the same number. There are several, and you can buy machines even to attach to your phone that will screen the number and research to see whether that's a scam number, if you will, and then block it so you don't get those rings. I don't know what the cost is for those, but there are several blocking services like Nomorobo, Nomorobo, that some of the services will work on some of your landlines. And then on your cell phone, there's one called Hiya, Hiya, that I downloaded. When I downloaded it, it was free on my cell phone. And now I'm getting these things that say, if you've enjoyed this, you might like to up to our premium. And I just say, no, thanks. But I think they're still offering it free, and they also offer a premium, I believe. So the premium says now you can see who you blocked. Who cares? I don't care who I blocked. But just if you would Google call blocking services or call filters, you can find a list of options there, and contact your telephone provider, whether that be internet or landline, and see what suggestions they have for blocking those calls.
Your telephone provider. And then Stacy Bonas, you were shaking your head because you guys have the phones. So do your phones allow for this?
Yes, and actually blocking is a feature of your service, not the telephone itself. But what I was also going to let you know is that there is legislation out there that would force telecom companies to block these robocalls at the central office, and they just don't feel like implementing it. So please reach out to your legislature, your senators, your congresspeople, to force the issue. They're not going to take it up until we push the issue. And I'm sure they're just as tired of these robocalls too, but there's nothing to force them to put the legislation in place, but it is out there. So if we as the citizens get them to do something about it, this could all be done. So please reach out to your lawmakers to get this legislation put in place.
That's a good point. Thank you, Stacy. There was something, okay. So there was a question posed, and I think Nancy said something about this in the chat, but someone said, I've been seeing a lot of commercials on TV lately that Medicare Advantage plan is sending its enrollees colon cancer screening kits automatically if they're eligible for the test under their plan. Do Barb or Nancy from SMP have any information about whether or not these are legitimate?
I think I can answer that. Yes, I would say it probably is. I think it's a marketing plan on behalf of the Medicare Advantage plans, because they're trying to get people to sign up with their plan and showing them what benefits they get by signing up for that Medicare Advantage plan. But yes, if it's made available to their members, I would say it's probably legit. Again, you could check with the Better Business Bureau or somebody like that about that, but I would guess that is a legitimate offer.
And then Gary says the iOS for Apple offers a feature to block and send to voicemail any calls that is not in your contacts. So that's a good point too.
This Nancy, I kind of looked that up while I answered in the chat.
Yeah.
About the Medicare Advantage. Colorectal screening is a Medicare covered benefit. Doesn't matter if you're on a Medicare Advantage or the traditional Medicare plan. However, it's kind of goes back to, you need to talk to your doctor, be a partner in your care, and talk about, do you need this? And you have to have a family history or something. So again, any of those kind of come-ons, You know, a lot of the Medicare Advantage plans offer extra benefits, which may sound good, but we always recommend they talk to a SHIP counselor. CICOA has SHIP counselors. There's an 800 number I'll put in the chat. It's an unbiased Medicare trained expert. They're not selling anything. So I'll put, you know, because there may be, you know, it may look good that they cover dental, but it's a limited plan. And, you know, you may have other out-of-pocket expenses. And so it's, you know, whenever you're dealing with insurance, death, taxes, and insurance, you know, you need to talk to somebody that is unbiased because, you know, it's complicated, right? So thank you.
Yeah, if it's a commercial, it's a sure bet that they are trying to sell you something. So, yeah. Somebody says my Google phone has both screening and blocking feature. And so if you do have a smartphone, you could go to your service provider and have them help you set these things up. I do that myself. Whenever I have to get a new phone, I just drop my phone off and they set everything up for me. And I go and run errands. Okay, so we've covered a lot of information. There's a ton of telephone numbers and websites in the chat. I realize if you're calling in on the phone, you might not be privy to all of the information that is shown on here. And so reach out to me directly if you if there's something that you need from this panel discussion. I really appreciate all the panelists, your time. I know is valuable, and then also the sponsors for helping us to be able to put this on for free to the attendees. And I miss seeing everybody in person. I really do. I really miss you guys. So thanks for hanging in there with us, and everybody stay safe, and let's get rid of the scammers by reporting them and not being embarrassed. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you.